What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're at in the country or the world. This is MSP Community Live, doing what we do every single Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'm Ray Orsini, joined as always by Mr. Matt Topper. How you doing, my friend?
Doing all right. How about you? Happy to
I'm
be
good,
here.
dude. I'm good. I was rushing here. You saw me with a green screen tip because I was cooking downstairs and then had to rush up over
Yeah,
here.
I was wondering what that was. Like when you first came on, it looked like you had a potato camera's predecessor.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, I don't know what it is. It's the MacBook or maybe it's when I'm downstairs or what, because I've done it on wins and losses that I do with Slagle every Tuesday at 7, now moving to 7:30. And when I'm down there, it's like it goes ghost white and then like I look like something out of bad sci-fi. So, you know,
You
what
should
are
do
you
that
gonna do?
intentionally one day so we could get like
Right?
a preview, like bad camera day.
Ooh, we should do that for Halloween. Like whatever closest MSP Live is for Halloween week, we should
We
do it
should
then.
totally do that.
Yeah. But how you doing, my friend?
Good. Getting caught up from traveling last week and everything's good. Glad to be here. Glad to see that my spot wasn't permanently given away. Heard last week's episode went really well.
Kyle Spooner did hold it down really well. Kelvin, he's always dying to take anybody's spot in the limelight. Anytime you can have him on camera, he's happy.
Limelight, nice.
Yeah, and he was on Tech Bar last Thursday too. So very cool. Tim, I don't know if you noticed my spiffy hat there, my compliance risk hat.
That looks good.
Yeah, I was rushing to grab a hat because I'll be honest, I totally forgot about MSP Community Live until like 10 minutes ago. So I was
Ouch.
downstairs, put the player on the 5-minute countdown video, and then rushed my ass upstairs. So,
So all
which
the
is why
stuff
I'm
we talk
blown out.
about, respect your audience, just out the window.
No, yeah. I mean, we can respect them on the professional shows. This is more about like just talking shit with your friends on
Yeah,
your
fair,
community.
fair. I
That's
should
why
have
I'm
poured more
blown
than
out
one beer
too. Of
for
course, my
this.
battery died, so I'm like replacing the battery for my the remote for my lights. So, speaking of bad cameras, but how was Exchange, dude?
It was good. I had a great time. This was a big speaking spot for me. Um,
Mhm. There we go.
so
Yeah, that's right. You
that
were excited about your speaking spot. Would you end up speaking on?
so we'll see how this goes over, but it had nothing to do with ConnectWise products at all. It was about the pains and pitfalls about when we did our big merger, what that looks like, things to do and not do based on that when you're bringing companies together,
Mhm.
how that's going. Because merger is right, M&A is huge in
Oh
the
yeah,
MSP space, and
for sure.
here,
It's great
learning the
money.
lessons from someone who's gone through it, I thought was valuable, and the feedback I got was very good too.
It's always nice to do. We've had so we did an M&A series from the vendor side. So I had Luis Girardo and Alex Farling with the LCI scale pad acquisition, talking on it from the vendor side. And then from the MSP side, we did part one of a two-part series from the MSP side with Dean Trempolis, who actually is now my director of client success, but he worked at an MSP that was not acquired once, but twice.
Mm-hmm.
Both by PE-backed giant MSPs. And so we talked through the first acquisition. We're going to do it again on the second one. Both of those are, I think we did partner first. So I'll put the links in the chat. And yeah, Alden, you did meet Matt Topper at GeekCon for sure. That's where we unveiled the we took you from behind the curtains. We definitely doxed Matt at
For
GeekCon.
like the 15th time.
Right, and we've done it like 20 times since. So that's always fun. Yeah, M&A is all the rage these days.
It
Can you
is.
acquire Matt? You wouldn't be the first person to ask that though.
That's true.
Matt's a hot topic, man. Matt Topper is a top of the list. If I can get too
Oh,
cheesy, I know that was
oh
bad.
man.
So
Never
what's
heard that one before.
right? I bet. So I say we get into it. We have, we cover our whatchamacallit, our stories of the week. And actually, I'm going to do this. Instead of just going to Reddit and bringing up the conversations we said we were going to cover, which we will, I'd also like to ask the audience: were there any conversations that you guys were really interested in? Because this is the community live, right? That's the whole
Oh
point.
man, we're on the spot here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we got to come up with those ideas on the spot. I mean, can't have Kyle Spooner being the reigning guy with all the great ideas, right? So whatchamacallit? So let me see here.
I did send a really good link about a which RMM should you use question in case you're out of material.
Oh, I mean, I can never stop talking about that. I mean, talk about awesome, awesome topics. Um, let's see here. We have when it's software dev and not MSP services. We have how do you manage your tier one help desk? We have the endless search for a new PSA RMM tool. Any ideas? Which is the one you're talking about. I'll give you dealer's choice. Which one of those you want to do first?
We should throw out the RMM PSA question.
Just because it's I get it. Top of the episode. Let's get it out of the way. That makes total sense.
No, we should throw that one in the trash can.
Oh, we should
like literally throw it out
to the trash. There we go.
Here's the one thing I'll say: like, stop spending so much time focusing on which tool to use, and just pick one and make it as awesome as it can be. Here's my 30 seconds of it.
I mean, and I want to give credit for it. That exact conversation was happening on MSP Geek Discord or Slack, wherever you're on. It was on MSP Geek and MSP General tonight. It was somebody asking, they have all the other pieces in place. They're looking for a PSA and RMM, and they asked PAX 8. They've asked the community, and nice enough, the feedback that came out was from Brandon, known as Giga, on most of the platforms, and Ben. I forgot his handle, but they were talking about just start working, get clients. Yeah. Don't worry about the rest. You'll figure it out as you go, as we've all done.
Right. They're all capable. They can all create tickets. They can all manage workstations, and right there. Yeah. Pros and cons to each of them, but just pick something and get cracking.
And let's be honest, while every PSA and RMM package has their release schedule, and they absolutely do feature and bug fixes and all that stuff and releases on whatever schedules they have, the information from 6 months ago is not outdated by any means. If you really want to get opinions, just search, do a little bit of research, maybe. I don't know. So let's see.
So yes, that's my thought on picking an RMM PSA. And I'm not supposed to say that, right? I'm supposed to be the use ConnectWise.
Go ConnectWise.
But just pick one.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. And for what it's worth, I was absolutely a Scam Suite user and absolutely loved it. But I'll tell you, I went from, and again, keeping this vendor agnostic, but I went from Freshdesk with Freshservice and some other stuff mixed in to Autotask Enable to ConnectWise, full ConnectWise suite. And now I'm on Salesforce. And I'll tell you, as long as you know what you want to accomplish, you can pretty much get it done with almost any platform. It's not all that complicated. PSA, you mean 365 Dynamics? Absolutely, yeah.
That does sound like a lot of dev work, though.
It does. And speaking of dev work, that's a perfect cue right into the next story. When is it software dev and when is it MSP services?
So I thought that the actual question was better than the title. Like the meat of this, when you actually read what they're asking, is good. The title is bad, and I guess that's why it got totally crushed with 0 upvotes.
Yeah. I'll be nice.
But I think what they're getting at is if you are a tech and you come across a client that has something that you personally are capable of doing, that's not a thing you officially do as an organization, when do you say yes to that and when do you say no to that, and how do you decide what to do? I think that's a worthwhile discussion.
It's scope creep. I mean, that happens. That absolutely happens. And that's basically what it is. It says they want me to set up some API integrations. Software in question does not currently work together. Both have APIs. I can link the actions with Lambdas, but the LTS of the code and the API is something I don't know how to price. Bonus info, the first major contract in my brand new MSP, which I think is why this is coming up.
So is he saying he's the owner? It sounds like that.
I mean, it's a brand new MSP. I'm going to go solo man shop trying to take whatever revenue they can get.
Yeah,
I would guess. I expect it would keep the lights on. Do I take the project or farm it out? Thanks for the input.
Ooh, that's another good point. Like, on day 1, you might do this, and year 10, you might not do this.
I can, so I did that. That was the hardest part for me as I evolved as an MSP. It was in the beginning, I did a lot of stuff that were absolutely in my skill set, But as we grew and I added staff, it was stuff that was in my skill set that maybe wasn't in their skill set.
Yeah.
And this is not a train up your staff. Remember, I was an MCSE, I was a CCIE. There's no reason in the world to have multiple of those, any of those classes in a small MSP. Like at our max, I think we were like 25 people. There's no reason in the world you need more, even one CCIE or even multiple MCSEs. It's just not the need. So there was no need to train them up to my skill sets either. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the things I could do became things that were absolutely, I want to say, worthless for the MSP eventually, because it became stuff only I could do. So anytime there was any kind of request, it was taking me away from doing the owner things I should have been doing. Uh,
You got it. Yeah.
and yeah, that becomes harder and harder as you get bigger. And so I would look at that and maybe say, do you want to farm it out and say, okay, well, this is always going to be farmed out, so it's not a tear, right?
I did this for an entire client for a while. They were doing some kind of high performance cluster Linux stuff, and like, yeah, I can support that. And guess what? I ended up supporting that for my entire time at the organization, and
Yep.
we would get calls like, "Yeah, Matt's out in the field right now, so good luck."
Yeah,
And it just
it's one
doesn't
of those
work.
things. Yeah, it was, I mean, my background, I did a lot of phone systems back in the day. So I did a lot of CCM, a lot of Unities, a lot of Q, a lot of my Televia, but mostly VoIP systems. So Asterisk, Free PBX, Digium, that kind of fun stuff. And I built some really cool things with a lot of really niche hardware. And I squeezed every iota of juice out of these little, 600 megahertz systems. But they were perfect for little PBXs at clients' offices. And then I realized I was the only one that knew the inner workings. And even if I trained other people, I think the biggest headache was I built a multi-continent platform for an enterprise, and it worked flawlessly. I mean, it was dialing out of the local countries, so they had the most advantageous calling prices. And I did all this really cool shit for this trading company. And then I was the only one that could do a damn thing about it. And
Yeah.
what made it worse is because it was so customized, I couldn't even hand it off to anybody else. Like,
Yeah.
there was
Exactly.
literally nobody I could say has done this exact thing before. Now, eventually I found some friends and it was time for their upgrade cycle, and I was able to hand off swiftly, but it was rough, man. It was really, really rough. So
So you said it worked perfectly. So that one wasn't call manager, right?
no, it was, thankfully they did not have the skill set. It was pure MSP. So their Spanish and Italian offices had like one internal IT person, but they let me
Yeah.
have the run of the show for many, many, many years.
Um,
Um, yeah. So Alden says, I made a GUI for 365 partner management. It broke a few times, and at this point, I'd rather just point him to the tool that most of us use instead. So we heard it here. Alden is the original creator of SIP. We're
that's
gonna
what
have
I'm
to talk to
hearing.
Kelvin. Actually, he does have one PR that was pulled into the main repo. So
I'm gonna
he,
get a PR for like updating the graphic or something.
oh, I'm gonna go even less. I'm gonna do like comments on the code, like something nobody
Yeah.
will ever see, but it's gonna be in my
Fix
PR.
some spacing.
Yes. Change everything to tabs from spaces, and we're good to go. All right, so
Um,
Alden says PSA fatigue is the main thing people get stopped at before getting a
yeah,
client. I could not
for
agree
sure.
more. 100%. He's gonna get me banned from the channel next. Dude, if we haven't been banned, I think you're okay. Matt's nicer than I am, but if I haven't been banned,
I
maybe
think
I
we're
have. Who
good.
even knows anymore?
Um, but on this discussion, I think it would
Mhm.
be a like you were alluding to. It's a different mindset if you're talking about when you're still in that I just need the revenue phase, right? When you're just starting to get off the ground, you'll do anything just to get the numbers and pay for it
Oh, for
later,
sure.
most likely trying to unwind that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
We
and
did
I've,
that all over the place. Dumb
dude,
stuff.
and I've been there. I've been there. I'm not gonna lie, I threw spaghetti at the wall many times, and you kind of have to as you grow your business. That's not, it's strategic spaghetti, but there are things you have to do, right? Like, I did the monitoring only, I did the break fix, I did the block hours, and I did a billion other things that I try to get into certain niches, and I realized I don't like it. And so
Yeah.
You know
Or
what I mean?
weird stuff like, yeah, we'll include all PC installs for free or some weird stuff like that that haunts you for
Absolutely.
the life of the agreement.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but if you wrote it equals job security, but it also means you can't take a vacation, you can't take time off, you can never retire. So I'm not sure I want that kind of job security. Uh,
It's bad
let's see.
news.
Nikki says, "Join me in the band from the channel land. I'll make cookies."
If there are cookies, then I'd be okay with that actually.
Yeah, I think we're all in. That's keep that out of the health and fitness channel. Um,
I agree with this.
yeah,
Do it outside the agreement and include a supportability in whatever you do with that, then just kind of be hands off afterwards.
but there's a theme there, right? How many MSPs start their MSPs without a plan for the business? And how many MSPs would take business like this and not have any longevity plans? What's going to be the refresh cycle? What's going to be the update cycle? What's going to be the supportability? How's going to be the handoff? Where are we going to stop building new features for it? And how are we going to maintain? You know what I mean? There's a lot
I
to
do. I
a
do.
software life cycle. These are not small questions. And I definitely would, you got to think about this stuff, which is why I say, you know what? You want to sub it out? I'm cool with it. Sub it out to a company that does this full time. And because I've always called an MSP a general contractor, bringing in all the other subs. I'm totally good with that. But keep in mind, you're going to have to still answer all of those questions. So,
Yeah. This
you
is
know,
another thing you get better at with experience where you just start to have a feel for, okay, is this like a one-off thing? I can write this script for them, or am I taking on like a software dev role by doing this? And it can be hard to tell sometimes.
yeah.
You just, I personally, I think it's one of those things you got to get burned a couple of times, and then
Oh,
you
yeah.
start to know where the line is.
It's funny because, you came from a large MSP. Even though we were small staff wise, we did okay revenue wise. And whatchamacallit, people always like you talk to newcomers to the space and they always say the same thing. They're like, yeah, those are decisions that are more easy when you're bigger, but when you're smaller, blah. And it's has nothing to do with size. It's when you've been doing this long enough, you're just tired of that shit.
Yes.
It's not a size, it's not a revenue, it's just it's not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, in my opinion. So I
It's
don't
an
know.
experience thing, right? The
Yeah,
experience was, we weren't big in the beginning and we weren't big for quite a while, but once we had been doing this for years, we knew what to do and what not to do because of screwing up previously.
100%. 100%. All right, let's see here. How do you manage? Okay, some of the comments on this one were kind of dickish. I gotta be
I
honest.
didn't read the comments. I just saw the
You're
initial.
better than me,
So
dude.
I didn't see one single comment on this.
So it starts with, how do you manage your help desk? It says, we're a European-based MSP with 100 or so clients, usually SMB with 100 or so users on average. I was
It's a
recently
big average
promoted.
client.
Yeah, right. I was recently promoted. Now I have a say in how we approach our biggest pain point. Our help desk, our level one help desk has been around 10 people. Their performance is completely disastrous. They do everything manually, such as sorting, escalating, even when the alerts in our monitoring systems are manually rewritten to our Jira and so on. Oh, an MSP using Jira. That's
They're
new.
using Jira for
Yeah,
interesting.
right. To be able to sort out service requests from our client, even the basic ones, is almost unheard of. We automated a lot of tasks, even ones with one person. Even when one person left the help desk, it turns out all his work could have been done by two logic apps. Of course, at the end of the day, it's not completely their fault. It's our responsibility to make it work. Good on him for taking that. I'm now trying to find a way how to kickstart them again. Any tips?
Wow.
So before we go into the comments, because I can only imagine what the comments are going to read, I only saw the top one. The top one was not nice. So what's your feedback here? What is there enough to provide feedback here? Better,
No,
yeah,
I think it's a good discussion starter more so. This is the kind of thing that this person would get benefit from having a conversation with someone like at a conference or something rather than a Reddit post, which I know is hard to do online, but that's the kind of
it's
conversation starter
true.
you start at the
Yeah,
bar and just talk about.
yeah, it's. I mean, and that's one of those things. Like, I'd love to see that person join any of the communities because we've all been there. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any single one of us that says, yeah, our MSP help desk is absolutely perfect. Lord knows we're refining ours every day. That's
Yeah.
just a normal thing. Um, but I guess it starts with write down your pain points, which he has: lack of automation, even when one person's down, focusing on the wrong things. I think maybe it's just a prioritization thing. So
It's really hard to say. I read a couple of different possibilities in that. I hear either two new techs like who aren't used to being support desk people. I hear possibly a lack of documentation, like maybe those guys didn't set up the environments and don't know what to do with it.
yeah,
I possibly see lack of standardization in the environment. Everyone's trying to reverse engineer on the support desk call. And I possibly see in this that they just don't know what to do necessarily.
yeah,
Like they're just kind
maybe
of
a little bit of
floating.
paralysis from just looking at the
Yeah,
ocean.
maybe they're not empowered enough to like really fix things and they're just band-aiding every now and then or every call that comes in. So I think we need more info on
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, if I'm looking at this, I'm seeing they're doing a lot of stuff manually, but this also may be colored by, I'm going to make a large assumption here. Um, they're using Jira. He talks about automation. Obviously, this person has experience in automation because he's not only saying this can be automated, he's saying I know exactly how to automate this.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is maybe a software house that got into
It's so
support.
funny. I was thinking that too.
Yeah, I mean, still not. So I'll give some high level advice, and then we'll get into the comments, and then see how badly it got. Um, High level advice: organization, because if they're manually doing everything, including sorting and escalating with the 10-person help desk, they don't have a dispatcher. They don't have. They're obviously escalating and sorting based on something. So there's some kind of policy. Document it all, assign, organize it. And I would say, how do you get the team engaged? Engage them in the decision making process. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, you're still going to make the decisions, but engage them in the conversation, and they're going to be more apt to adopt it, which is going to be the other half of the battle, right? It's not a come up with all the answers. It's, you got to get them to do it, and that's hard. um
So does the size seem strange to you also? Because they said they have
yeah,
100 clients, 100 each. So we're talking 10,000 endpoints or
and 10
10,000
people.
users, whatever,
Yeah,
with 10 guys taking calls.
yeah, that's
That seems low.
and that's why I say, like, this seems to me symptomatic of maybe an accounting house that has started an MSP side, or a software house and said we can start. This does not scream. I can't imagine how you get to 10,000 users, or even say it's internet exaggeration. Say 7,000 users, right? Even if
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
doing multiple, but it's still a lot to do with 10 people. They obviously have a structure, because if this guy came from somewhere else, this guy or woman, I don't know what this is,
Yeah.
but if this person came from a different position and now is in a position to manage this, it means there was another position that person was in, whether it was help desk or something else. So it's definitely a larger organization structure, right? That's, and I'm guessing, I'm pulling stuff out of the thin air, but I'm reading tea leaves. But at the same time, it's, I don't know, it's pretty on point for me. So we have, might be unpopular, but for the pay that L1s have gotten at every MSP I ever worked, they shouldn't be, and we're not expected to automate anything. They follow processes. There's a lot to unpack there. Matt, what's your opinion on that comment?
Did you catch the eye roll?
Yeah.
I don't know where that even came from. Like, okay, someone should automate stuff, and if you have an L1 that's capable of writing automation, then awesome. But that's not even the point of the suggestion to automate things. Like,
Right.
just get your senior guys to do it if they're the only ones who can do automation.
And I don't get that. Like, at the same time, if I have somebody that wants to do something, that's how I'm training them up. You know what I mean? I'm not making them do it as part of their ticket time. I'll separate time for to do it, but that's exactly how we do with our techs. We separate time for them to learn other skills, and usually they want to learn new skills. The pay thing, I don't want to get into, because some
Well,
MSPs
and
suck, some are great. I mean,
let's be honest. The people who want to write code write bad code. Imagine what's going to come out of somebody who doesn't want to do it.
yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. Let's see here. Oh, He agreed with something. Let's see. People who are mindful about it are on their way to second line. Those that don't will be level one forever. I don't disagree at all. It's hard to understand if you're not like that. I don't really understand it myself. Different kind of people. We have the same issues. A lot of them that drive to learn and do more, or only talk about wanting to get second line but don't actually do anything. I've seen that plenty too.
Yeah.
But the
This
easiest
whole
way to,
comment chain though is focusing on the who, and like that's to me that's
yeah,
wasted effort and focus. Like the
yeah,
organization obviously needs automation, and spending their time infighting about who does it is not valuable to anyone.
agreed. Agreed 100%. This is an organizational systemic problem. This is not a people problem. I love Jira, but I feel like using it as an MSP is a mistake. No disagree. I mean, again, we started this with you can use anything.
You could make it work. I mean, I think it would be pretty clunky, but right, going back to what we said before, um, you'll probably spend a lot more time making the tool work than something MSP driven, but you could do
Yeah.
it.
I mean, for me, it came down to, and this is exactly why I moved from the tools I moved from into each tool. It came from, it wasn't so much about could the tool do the job, it was what ecosystem integrations were there, right?
Yeah.
Because a swivel chair thing is a serious thing. That's misery. And Jay McBain talked about the average MSP help desk has like 17 tools or some nonsense like that. Not nonsense, it's legit. It just, it sucks. So it's not a can Jira do the job? It's can Jira do the job with my dashboarding, my RMM, my billing software, you get what I'm saying? Like it becomes more complicated when they're not ecosystem things.
Yeah,
Um,
right. They're gonna find themselves writing like little glue scripts for every single thing they want to do.
100%. 100%. Sandy says tier one's getting automated out of a job. Um, there,
That's kind of a legit point in
do you
that.
think so? Like I'm 50-50 on this.
Well, I think it furthers an idea that we had or we've talked about, which is we don't really hire tier ones or what most of the industry calls a tier one
Yeah.
anyway, like the guys who just answer the phone and reset passwords and things.
Hmm.
Um, we try to do what the rest of the industry calls a tier two and hire them as tier ones. And they don't stay in that role too long, right? Anybody who's particularly good at it wants to get out of that in most cases. We've had a few people who wanted the lower stress of being in it, but I think the days of the tier one, like resetting passwords and doing stuff like that, don't think that'll last too much longer.
Yeah, it's funny because you see these job postings and they'll be like, I'm looking for a tier 1.5. It's like,
You see some
um,
tier one postings, I'm like, man, am I qualified for this? I'm not sure.
right. I think Kelvin had brought up, he did this in a private group. He had brought up somebody that was looking for 5 years of SIP experience. SIP hasn't been around for 5 years. So,
Kelvin's not qualified.
right. Yeah, that's what he said. He goes, I'm not qualified. The one redeeming factor was his SIP and Cyberdrain experience. And the blog has been around since cyberdrain.com has been around for like since 2013, 2012, something like that.
Yeah,
So Sandy followed it up. Now tier one will be current tier two, which is exactly what you said.
I agree with that.
And it's funny because I always said that I've never heard it elsewhere. So it's funny that you articulate it. But I've always said that my tier ones are closer to tier twos than tier one, especially being a VoIP provider. Like they're all reading PCAPs, they're all reading packet, what you call it, SIP ladders and call traces. But it's interesting that it's nice to hear it from somebody else too. That's an option. So Alden, don't worry. If you're sad, I got something to make you happy. It's a spooner. So what's up, dude?
What's up, Kyle?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good, brother.
Good.
Good. I appreciate you joining. Always nice to have you on here, dude.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks for having me.
let's see. So we're talking about this post where this level one, whatchamacallit, this person just took control where they have authority to change all the mess that is their level one help desk. Also, we didn't mention this, Matt, but if he's referring to a level one help desk, it intimates that there's possibly a level two, a level three. Again, signs of a larger organization here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, because I mean, we have level one help desk techs and level two and level three, but they work the same help desk. They're just assigned different tickets. So I wonder. Again, I wonder if this. Is
I really want to know who this is. We should come to IT Nation and we'll
right?
discuss all of this.
Or
any industry event. Doesn't have to be a ConnectWise one.
It's
yeah. I mean, but I'll be at IT Nation. We'll all be at IT Nation. So Kyle, I'm speaking for you. You're going to be at IT Nation. We'll just figure out how.
Yeah. This is an interesting conversation because we built a system that currently, which I don't like, we don't really have tiers, which I don't like because it doesn't allow for streamlining and efficiency gains. It's just throw a ticket and someone can work it. There are kind of estimations on when the team leads assign their tickets. So they have an assumption of where a ticket can land, but there's no official segmentation of who does what, where, and why. And that causes for inefficiencies, which I don't like. But we do have a team dedicated to what we call quick fixes, password resets, new user account creations, terminations, things that they can take and know it's under 15 minutes to resolve for the client. While we're not at this specific stage, I would love to have everything flow through our quick fix team first, have them do a assessment to see what they think it can be, right? Yes, I can fix this in 15 minutes. No, I can't. Because if they can say, no, I can't fix this in 15 minutes, that's going to be 99.9% accurate, right? Because they're a low-level team. They're not designed to do massive troubleshooting. If they know they can't fix it, there's no point in them sitting on and trying it.
Okay.
And then we escalate
real quick. Do you guys have a dispatcher?
I was going to ask that. Stop stealing my question, Ray.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, it sounds like you're using the text as a dispatcher, and that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. We do have a dispatcher. Why
aren't they doing this?
This is what I would want. This is my vision of how I'd like it all to flow. Right. Okay. Our quick fix basically triages the ticket to determine where it goes and what it's about. Right. Because if we get an email ticket that says, hey, my Outlook doesn't work, that doesn't tell me anything other than the problem. It doesn't even tell me that problem's in Outlook. Right.
Can I mention?
They're saying, how did you send this email in? That's my first question.
So, and then you get smacked down with, like, I sent it from my phone. You're like, oh, that makes sense. It's not what I thought of, but I've been on the losing side of that argument. But here's my thing. So I lost my train of thought. Please continue.
Sure. It'll come back to you.
I didn't take my meds today, so ADHD is on fire.
So our dispatcher isn't technical. So they actually just assign tickets. Our team leads can assign tickets as well. So if they feel like they have a better estimation of what it's our system isn't what we want to be eventually in the far-flung future. It's just working for us at this particular moment in a way. But my dream scenario is quick fix triages all the tickets that come into the help desk. And that runs into the individual teams. Our teams are segmented and they have their own client bases. They deal with their own clients. That's their situation, right?
You don't worry that creates a bottleneck for the higher priority items waiting for the quick fix team to look at it? Because if they identify a 15-minute ticket and they're working on it, there's other tickets for those 15 minutes that haven't even been looked at yet. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, true. But our quick fix teams should be bigger than our regular teams.
Okay.
Everyone should start in quick fix. Even if you're a tier 3 technician, you come in, you do quick fix for a week or two, and that's how you establish your gains. That's how, again, dream scenario, not how it is now.
Yeah, no, I'm a
like
believer. If you're any technical, if your goal is to be any technical role at all, you need to do some time on the help desk.
Yeah, for sure.
So our quick fix team would then funnel into the individual teams, which have a dedicated tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 technicians. And tier 1s we have more tier 1s than tier 2s and more tier 2s and tier 3s. That's how it should always function in any MSP. You shouldn't have more tier 3s than you do tier 1s. That's backwards.
We were just talking about this. How many MCCs do you need on staff?
I have 2 what we call tier 3 technicians out of a staff in the help desk of about 25. And they don't they do project work, they do other they do onboardings. They're not dedicated to but their whole job is escalation.
We do the same thing. We have a core services engineering team that's DevOps, platform, infrastructure, security, are basically internal IT, and then we have a client facing support services team of their whole thing.
Yeah.
Do you guys separate out projects
Yes.
as a separate department,
Yep.
business unit?
If it's over 2 hours, automatically project goes to the projects team.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. See, Alden kind of agrees. So here's my thing. I'm gonna jump in here. Funny enough, because he made a comment that actually affects him specifically. Says, how technical does your dispatcher have to be
Ooh,
to
this is a
discern
good
the ticket
question.
level? And funny enough, his girlfriend is starting with us September 18th. So to be that role. So we have 2 people that field calls, review tickets, something like that. And that's the goal. But one of those 2 is building up a technical background. So we talked about the tier 1 kind of going away, the tier 1s really being tier 2s, and tier 1 being a ton of automation tasks. Well, this is kind of the tier 0.5, the person that builds up. There you go. There's Nikki right now. Hi, it's me. I'm the dispatcher. It's me.
Hi, new dispatcher. Word of advice from someone who trained our dispatcher: you just have to understand what the issue is at a very basic level. You don't need to know why the issue is happening or how it's happening.
Right. And this has been a spoonful of advice.
So I'll say it's not helpful for this situation necessarily, but for us, the most success we had in dispatching was when we found someone who was a former technical person at the end of his career, and
Oh,
he
wow.
wanted a kind of a low stress thing, just doing dispatching and not a lot of field work anymore. And so it was awesome because he would know exactly what was going on and be able to say, yeah, this is a quick thing, this isn't. But I think we just kind of hit the lottery. I don't know if that's
you don't get
a strategy.
Yeah.
It worked out though. It was really nice.
You didn't ended up in a position where you had a really expensive dispatcher though?
No.
Oh, see, I'll take one of those. Shit.
Right? You literally hit the lottery. Like
Right.
That doesn't exist.
So, okay. So here's what we're moving to, right? Because the people that answer calls today are non-technical people. They know how to enter the tickets. We have policies. They know how to prioritize. And actually we built out Salesforce to have a self-sorting system based on impact, urgency, priority, client type, age, blah, blah. Has a ton of factors. But we built it actually really nice so the techs just pick from the top of their list. That's it. That's what they're expected to do. And so, but I want to get back to about 4 or 5 years ago, the person who used to answer calls for us, she was not technical by any means, but she knew how to do a bunch of quick fix stuff. So we ended up telling her, if you can solve it in 2 minutes, do it on the phone, solve it in 2 minutes. If not, and you still have to enter a ticket regardless. But if not, enter the ticket, let it be handled the normal process. I miss that level of service because what happens is we don't have techs answer the phone. We have admin operations answers the phone. So the MSPs that call kind of miss having that first call response resolution thing, right?
That's why I want my quick fix to triage is to answer.
But are they answering calls too? That's a lot to ask, man.
If a 10-person team can't accurately, I understand that. Like there are costs, like there's benefits and negatives to the situation 100%, but having a technical person on the phone and then your problem solved within 50, regardless of what it is, it could be as simple as let's reboot your computer real quick, see if that solves it. That person is now a raving fan of your business.
So
because they didn't have to wait an hour, they didn't have to wait your SLA.
Only people that do live tech answers say. You will never hear somebody that did it and moved away from it say that same argument.
And what do you mean?
So, okay. So I did that. Everybody that says the text live answer the calls give the exact same argument and as a reason for it. It is because it is a best-in-class customer service. The clients love it, blah, 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 blah. Do you keep the clients on the phone while you're working on the ticket?
No, the whole premise at the very beginning is to identify the problem, triage it. Can you solve it within the 15-minute time frame? If none of those things hit,
15 minutes, or are they just are they hanging up and solving the problem?
It depends on what the situation is. Like it's hard to justify, but anytime, 90% of the time they're going to be on the phone.
So the reason I ask is that how many of us have been in an office doing an internet swap or a server install, or even removing a pup off a desktop, and you have that person right over your shoulder asking questions as you're trying to get shit done? On the phone is psychology, off the phone is technology. I've been saying that for like 20 years. And so our goal has always been, this is MSP days, even pre-MSP days, my consulting days, get what you need from the client. Absolutely have a call with the client 100% of the time. Make sure you understand what they're asking for and get the hell off the phone, because you're also wasting their time being on the call, right?
Yeah.
It just
And
depends on
so-
what it is.
I'm not advocating for them to spend 4 hours on the phone with the client while they're just clicking on buttons on the computer, right?
Yeah, but if I'm not married to you, I don't want to talk to you for 15 minutes either if I have
And
problems going on.
some clients will absolutely demand to be on
Yeah.
the phone, and then some clients won't call in at all. Like we have
Right.
a client that says email us only. I don't want to talk to you in person,
Right. And
and I'm like, all right.
and if you go
But
to
right,
your
like
doctor and say, I want to be awake for surgery, what are they going to tell you? No. You get what I'm saying? There's a reason.
First off, there's that person's insane.
No, but it's not different. You cannot. It is distracting to be able to, and it's distracting, and it's honestly exhausting to require somebody to be on the phone talking to somebody while they're solving it. And you cannot tell me they're just as efficient as if they were off the phone.
It
There's
depends
no
I
on
don't
way
think
the
there's
issue.
a hard answer to this, right? So,
And-
the classic password reset, you're going to stay on the phone, or if it's something like you're trying to fix a busted scanner and you have to have them try scanning something every 2 minutes, like you're going to stay on the phone for that too. Just totally context dependent.
100%. Like
Okay.
if an application they have, like let's say a line of business QuickBooks doesn't work or something like that, my quick fix person who's technical but answering the phone isn't going to solve that. That's going to get escalated. They're going to get as many details, much more accurate than someone who's non-technical. I want to point out, list in the ticket for the next escalation point.
Right.
But
Yeah,
I don't
we
like
don't
that's
allow
a
escalation
2-minute
for
phone
a whole lot
call,
of data.
5-minute
Yeah,
phone
I
call
agree with you.
max. But the password resets they're already doing, right?
And how many of your tickets have been I need to reset my password, and it turns into, also I have a printer jam, also I have this problem that came in 2 weeks ago and I never told you about it.
Those get documented into separate instances and get kicked off their own ticket. Sorry, client, you got to report them when you're reporting.
Best in class customer service is if you're solving all of their problems on the same call.
Well,
right?
Each,
Like
no,
the
I'm
same
not
argument goes in.
advocating.
That's why
I'm not advocating for best in class.
And
I'm
not
advocating for
that
what's
either, by the way.
efficient.
I'm playing devil's advocate. So
No, I think that though is the perfect argument for, right. So we had our dispatcher, and if it was something he identified as quick fix, we called it ticket sniper. We would send it to that team, but he would get the information like, is it just this? So like, get us everything right at the beginning of the phone call, and then they can make a call. Okay, this can go to the quick hit team. This has to go to the regular team.
Yeah.
That seemed that to me, that's the argument for dispatch, because if my person answering the phone is sitting there working a ticket, then who's picking up the next 2 calls that come in during that 15 minutes?
Yeah. And that's why, like, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you know your call load. I'm sure you know your ticket load, and you're accounting for all that and your staffing. I get that. Like, it's easy to argue the high level stuff without asking you into the details on purpose.
100%. I think it's the best system that allows quick resolution, and also making sure that the information we get is transportable. Not because we have non-technical people on the phone, answering phones right now, and they do an amazing job. I love every single one of them, but they have desires to be more technical role.
Oh, for sure.
And that's hard for us to be like, well, we're not designed for that. Now we have to bring up someone else, and like it becomes a lot more difficult because someone has to spend time teaching them technical if they're non-technical, right?
Yeah,
and that's a time teaching period, right?
Well, it's more so because if you don't have a dedicated system in place to train people who are non-technical to be technical, and they may not have an aspiration.
Well, that's why you hire somebody as technical for the role.
Correct, but we have what I'm saying is we have what we call our intake team who are not technical.
Yeah. So, and let me give the flip side of that, right? And again, this is devil's argument. We've all seen there's no one right way to do everything. So I don't want anybody to assume like I'm saying Kyle's wrong. You should never do that, even though I tell Kyle's wrong.
Well, if you're like most MSPs, you'll change it like once every year or two anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, but my point is this: how many MSPs also those soft skills? How many really great technical resources do you have that have amazing soft skills too to be on the phone? And again, I argue everybody should go through help desk because you learn that.
It's a low percentage.
And so, and that's the problem. These are the people you're saying stay on the phone. You can't tell me
No.
they're giving better customer service than somebody trained in customer service.
There, like I said, there's pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
There is a system that any MSP can put into place to help them figure out what works for them. Adopt a system, adapt it to your needs. Oh God, I lost the other two. There's two more A's.
Okay, I don't feel so bad then.
Adopt it, adapt it. A couple other cool things that make it sound nice.
It's
Dang
funny
it.
because like to dispatch or not to dispatch is like it is as old of a question as do you do ACE or do you do block hour or what PSA,
Yeah.
what RMM do you like? These are arguments that happen every single week in every single community.
I think to my opinion on dispatching comes down to, can you afford it as an MSP to have what amounts to a cost center, not someone who they will obviously provide efficiencies, but ultimately at the end of the day, they're just a cost center. They don't produce profit for an MSP. And if you have someone you can hire to that, is your dispatcher, is your help desk someone, the area where you need to, where you can ingest that into? That's the secondary question.
Maybe that's
Well,
a great
that's a really good
conversation
point.
for another episode where we can talk about one of the things I really love to do is look at things that are traditionally cost centers, right? Security is a cost center. There's no question about it. If you look at anybody that's doing MSP financials, security is a cost center. It is not a revenue generator. However, if you start looking at intangible stuff, you can start calculating that and say, okay, well, great customer service leads to a Google review. How expensive would that review be? How expensive is it to get a testimonial? How much value does it have? And there's other ways to determine ROI beyond just financial.
I absolutely agree with you. Efficiency gain, like that person is going to gain you efficiency, therefore more throughput and productivity from your help desk, in my opinion. Like not everyone's going to share that, which is fine, but you have to look at it from there as well. So while they are a straight cost center, they're going to improve the other aspects of your business. And is that is an absolutely lovely conversation.
It's like calculating ROI on marketing. It is absolutely fuzzy math. Anybody that does, just standard math knows 2 + 2 is 4. Anybody that learns, prob stat knows 2 + 2 can be 5 sometimes. And if you do a finance, 2 + 2 can be 17 if you depreciate it, right? Like it's just, these are hard questions. Matt, we've cut you off like 17 times, dude. I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I'm sure it was not. Actually, I'm sure it was extremely insightful, but now it's been lost.
I mean,
whatever it was is gone.
It must have been talking.
Know how you feel?
I think it was the end of Kyle's list is actually what I was going to say.
Oh, nice. Okay. I mean, and remind everybody, be sure to like and subscribe. So we have 6 minutes left. Let's see what we have here. Unless Spooner, you had any topics you wanted to bring up?
No, I don't have anything specific.
Oh, here's one. Anybody struggling to hire level 2 technicians? TLDR, level 2 teams have been a nightmare to grow. They instantly believe they're worth so much more than their contribution to our profitability. Does there even need to be a level 2? Interesting. How do you deal with level 2 prima donnas? I'm a service coordinator with a mid-size MSP, minimally technical role. Okay, so this is not an owner. This is a service coordinator, aka dispatcher. I've been here 10 years, so I know the MSP space pretty well. And I'll put the link in the chat. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but prima donnas and hiring. There's a lot to unpack there.
You're going to run into that with all the levels. Like you have someone who managed to fix an Outlook instance, and then now they want to be a tier 3 technician and want $100K a year. You're going to have people who overvalue themselves, and you're going to have people who undervalue themselves. It's just the name of the business. And if you're hiring people with if you don't have a specific guidelines to determine what you feel is level 2 and what your what the person you're interviewing feels is level 2, if you can't bridge that gap in your hiring process, that may be your issue. We have 4 questions we ask, which determine where you fall in the spectrum of level 1 to level 3.
That's my favorite question.
No, it's one of them is, what's the difference between file share permissions and NTFS permissions? And it's not just what you enter, it's how you enter that determines what level you are,
Should we
because
put Matt on the spot? I mean, he's experienced and then some. I want to see how he does on the Spooner.
How would I answer that question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
I
wanna
would
see how
say
you do on the
NTFS
Spooner
ones are
judgment.
the only ones to ever set, because you'll shoot yourself in the foot by screwing around with file share permissions too much.
No arguments there.
okay. I mean, that's pretty good.
Would he have gotten the job?
No, man, that's pretty high up, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Oh,
Congrats. You definitely would have made level 2 at least. So
Currently on
if
that
I
question,
answer it wrong, can I like have less stress and
There's-
only reset passwords all
Right?
day?
there's no
Yeah.
wrong. I mean, yes, but I'm not paying.
there's
what you're
absolutely
currently
wrong
getting
answer.
paid.
What you do is you go change the SID. No.
Oh God.
Not saying I've ever seen that firsthand or anything. And maybe those are the you ever go in and you look and you see a customer environment that has red flags that are so bad, you just say, I have to nuke and pave. We cannot continue this because
Yes.
unraveling spaghetti. Yeah, there. And so like modifying SIDs directly, like when you start seeing a bunch of those little hacks that you know damn well work, there's not the problem. It's just they're not scalable. It's like file share permissions versus NTFS permissions, right? Or you see a bunch of stuff assigned to users instead of groups, and that kind of stuff. Everybody's local admin, and so there's always those little red flags. And I'll leave
We're
that
using
to
the
the chat.
built-in administrators group because you put the file share in the domain controller.
Yes,
That's a good one.
I love that. Although I'm not going to lie and say I'm not. I may have installed QuickBooks on a DC once or twice.
Found my questions.
I'm sorry. So let's finish up with Matt. What is the proper answer? What is the spoon answer? So it's recorded. So anybody that goes to work at a telecom.
I would say level 2.5. From that answer. What's
Damn.
Okay, here we go. What's the purpose of the default gateway?
Oh, wait, who are you asking here? Because now you're in my territory, sir.
It's the question. What's the purpose?
I mean, it really ends up
Gateway
being
is
the
to get from
default
one network
route.
to another network, and the default gateway is the last one, the
Yeah.
gateway
Of last resort.
Yeah.
The zero route.
I swear, if he calls me a level 1, I'm kicking
No,
his ass. Were you looking up the answer?
No, I'm looking at past answers from the chat we have.
There you go. I know Alden's kidding, but
Yeah.
I would say it's probably an SVI on like a layer 3 switch. That's my answer.
There you go. I mean, are we talking IBGP or EBGP? What are we talking
Yeah,
about?
right. Let's do the complicated.
Let's dive into
answers.
this.
Let's move on. What's the purpose of the Windows file extension?
What was that?
What is the purpose of a Windows file extension?
No, I want to know the good answer to the default gateway one.
Yeah, let's hear this.
You want to know what a high level answer is?
No, I want to know like what. Yeah. What's a tier 3?
Actually, I think it would actually be helpful, like as much fun as we're having, to hear what
Yeah.
a typical answer would be.
This is a routing device in the network that facilitates communication with other networks and subnets. It serves as a guide for local service requests that are otherwise unable to navigate the internet or any network past the local network. You can see the IP address of the default gateway used by a computer with the IP config command. Occasionally, troubleshooting the default gateway is unavailable or the inability to reach other subnets.
Yeah, that would have been a level 1 answer for me. Only because you use default gateways within a network even before you get out to the internet in many cases, at least in the network side design.
Well,
That's true, right?
Sorry, this is my home place though.
That's a good
Networking,
point,
like,
though.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking. I mean, if you really want to get into it, it's separation of logical domains and your ability to cross across them. And there's other gateways besides the default gateway, and they're going to be weighted. And depending on the metric, it'll depend where you land and how you route out to different stuff. Because you may do load balancing, you may do minimal hop, you may do whatever. And that
I lied, there's
nobody
5
should ever
questions.
answer that. If they answer that, don't hire him. You can't afford him.
Yeah, is there like HSRP in this network or something? Because then it's nothing.
So
Yeah, can you define the network?
let's go
logic?
back to where I'm familiar with. What is the purpose of a Windows file extension?
I think Matt what would you rate his answer as if you were hiring him? If
I
it
would
was,
never say that answer verbatim. I don't think I would ever get hired. Like I couldn't memorize that whole thing.
What I just said?
Yeah.
That
was a
that
long
was
answer.
someone who responded to. So the way we do this, obviously,
that was a Google answer. That's why.
maybe well, no, the way we do this, which way this should happen. I can't say that I didn't actually Google it. Is obviously everyone does recruiters, right? That's a thing. You reach out, maybe you get someone good. They are supposed to, in their process, sit with them and then ask them these 5 questions, and they just type. They don't verify. They don't check. They just type whatever's said, and then they send it back to us. And that is it. We read their answers and determine where they fall on the spectrum of tier 1.
Did anyone ever send back like joke answers or like somebody's overqualified and they like give some ridiculous answer?
Someone had submitted literal gibberish before.
Why submitted at that point? Like,
well, they said things that sounded technical. But it was just
like gibberish, like complex words to sound smart, kind of thing.
Yes, which immediately weeded them to be like tier 0, right? Intake, quick fix.
Yeah, tier 0, nice.
Yeah. But there are multiple. Like it's not just what you answer; it's how you answer. Like with the answers you gave me, I would put you higher than most of our technicians, or at level of most of our technicians, like our high level technicians, right? Because it wasn't just the answer you provided; it was how you provided it.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I will say, level 1 network engineer versus level 1. Okay, so this is I'll give blanket advice for anybody that ever tries to work for any of my companies. If you apply and during your application you say you're a network expert, I'm going to grill you like you've never been grilled before. Just avoid it altogether. Just don't do it. Like if you're applying for tier 1 and anything says network on your resume, take it off.
Oh, I'm Network Plus certified, baby. Circa 2013.
Oh man. Well, my MCSE is 2003, so whatever, dude.
I know that IPv4 addresses. There's a book I have that I am looking at. I found it that will tell me how to subdivide them again and determine subnets.
Okay, you'll appreciate this. So we're doing a data center migration this week, and we have a new subnet, right? For new IPs, we're re-IPing the gear, moving rack to rack, whatever. And the subnet information they gave us was wrong. One of the subnets we were given was a /27. And the subnet gateway they gave me was wrong. And I'm typing it. I'm being dumb. I'm typing it in Windows and on the Windows server, and Windows is arguing with me. It's like, no, the network host is wrong, blah, blah. It doesn't tell you what it should be. It just tells you it's wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I pointed out to the team working with me this week in my CSE team. And I'm like, it keeps giving me this error. Can you double check what was given to me? And so there's 7 people or 5 people on the call. I sit there and I start doing the math, right? Like I start breaking this out by hand. I'm drawing it out. And to their credit, the rest of the non-idiots on the team, they just went to the subnet calculator on Google. And they were like, no, the subnet should be .224. But it was like one of those things, like we all got to the right answer. It was just, mine was the old and longest way to do so. Still got it at the same time.
That was the everything has to be a programming exercise era.
You know what's my favorite question? Write down what a loopback address is.
The entire 127 block?
Well, yes, that's the catch, right? So loopback is anything in the 127/8. But most commonly it's 127.1. So if I see somebody write 127.1 or anything in the 127/8, I know they know their shit. And if they're like 99% of the rest of the planet, they'll write 127.0.0.1.
That's what I write because that's how I program. That's how I localhost to my computer.
:1.
Oh God,
yeah.
So that works too because we were talking about this. We're talking about the one that and you pointed out IPv6 has the concatenation. I can never say that word.
I just do concat.
Yes, thank you. It has the concat in the spec, right? That's what you're pointing out to me, Matt. That IPv6 has that, right, to remove the zeros and middle zeros.
But seems to work in V4 anyway.
But it was never in the spec. It just works. So
when are we all switching to IPv6?
Sometime in 2150, I would imagine.
Are we out of addresses in V4 already? That was the thing when I was reviewing my network code.
We were out of addresses in 2004.
Yeah, like forever ago.
They still get assigned. I mean, You still have government agencies that hold entire /8s, and it's mind-boggling to me. And they're using them for like everything has a public IP address. I'm sorry, a publicly routable IP address is the proper term. Like that shit drives me fucking nuts. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
The way that V6 was done was like one of our biggest failures as an engineering discipline. Like all of that is good stuff, but we should have solved the initial problem of longer addresses and added all the ancillary stuff as a totally separate protocol.
Yes,
I think.
Well, because then how many 4 to 6 schemes are there? There's like 4 or 5 that are like common practice, and there's a million others like workarounds. Not to mention CGNAT. Not to mention like and IPv6 calculations are a real pain in the ass. That I absolutely will.
I hate IPv6. Like when in the book, I was like, thank God this hasn't been like fully ratified yet. Because just reading about it is just like my brain hurts.
I mean, but at the same time, when I go to Aaron and I apply for blocks, I'm applying for V4 and V6.
Yeah.
And I probably shouldn't say this because these things are like freaking liquid gold. Aaron will assign you a /24 V4 if you need it for the express purpose of migrating to V6.
I got some migrations to do.
Yeah. But I shouldn't say that though, because I need it too. I need like 3 more /24s. So
I don't have a need to have an IP block. So.
Yeah, it's a service provider life, man. That's
Yep.
I'll just write looks cool in the justification form. That should do it, right?
I do want to point out real quick. SIP just announced like an hour and a half ago, new 4.1.0 release. CyberDrain is one of our partner communities, like MSP Geek, like IT Pool Party, like Reddit, and MSPs are us. So he put it out there, and I'm sure he'll do it on LinkedIn tomorrow. But 4.1.0 is out. Go read the release notes. We'll put the link in chat so you can go check it out. And yay for CyberDrain.
Boo for CyberBrain.
Kyle, we were talking about, Kelvin pointed out to me a job posting that said you needed 5 years experience with SIP or CyberDrain. Do you have 5 years experience with SIP, sir?
I absolutely do. I've been working on CyberDrain pre-alpha, laying down the first bits of code.
So that was the thing I said. I told Kelvin, I'm like, well, they said and CyberDrain, and the blog's been around. Kelvin told me like 2012, 2013.
Exactly.
So you could have 5 years experience doing CyberDrain scripts, and
I've known Kelvin for 5 years, which gives me automatic access.
I'm gonna go migrate a few networks. Do not take my /24s, Alden. So
he's gonna take them and sell them back to you,
dude. Oh my god! Like I feel like an asshole because the last time I looked at buying, /24s were like $3,500, and now they're like 20 or 30,000, and you still need Aaron approval. It doesn't change, but they're like 25 or 30 grand. And I'll give a tip for anybody out there going to buy IPv4s, because apparently there's other people like me. If you go to buy, get a sample of the IPv4 from the broker and check the list, because there's lots of them that have been blackholed or have been blocked for spamming or whatever else, botnets. So not every V4 block is equal. Be very careful with that.
That's why I just blanket buy all of the V6 address, because one day in 3078 QR, I'm gonna be rich. My family's gonna whoever gets at that point in time, but I will be the one.
Do you want to guess how many IPs Aaron gives you by default if you request a V6 block from them?
2 million.
It used to be a 64, right?
It's a 64. It's ridiculous. Oh no, I'm sorry. They give you a /48 if it's one site. If you're one site, it's depending on number of sites. So a /48 at the smallest, a /32, but /32.
So it's even bigger than I thought.
You might want to switch screens there, Ray. Your IP addresses on the.
No, this is Aaron.
The very top of the page of the website.
My IP address is, yeah, I mean, good luck. If you want to freaking try to hack me, go for it.
I'm just trying to help. It's the internet. It's there now.
Somebody's running me on Shodan right now. I see you, Alden. Don't even. Yeah. So yeah, IPv6 block is depending on the number of end sites in your network, not the number of IP addresses you anticipate using. No, I was right. This is
Yeah, you were right.
absolutely correct.
I was incorrect.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a /32 for the one block.
I mean, but I don't know. Like, it drives me nuts because they say the same thing about V6 as they said about V4. We'll never need this many addresses. There's no point.
You only need 640 kilobytes. Who's going to need more?
Well, yeah. You only need 640K, right? That's what Gates said. Like, and so they said the same thing about V6. We'll never run out. There's enough IPs for every grain of sand. Yeah, but when you have devices nowadays that are pulling multiple IP addresses, or you have everything on your network. My toaster doesn't have an IP address, but I have a million other IoT devices. TP-Link Casa right here. I mean, I don't know. I'm just.
I think they're right though, because it'll be like 2070, and we'll be doing like quadruple CGNAT to still use IPv4.
I don't think we're going to get rid of it. I don't think IPv6 is cool and all, but I think that's going to be external only to hit your site, but internal is all going to be IPv4.
I can't see doing V6 in an internal rollout outside of an enterprise.
I did it a couple of times just because I kind of wanted to, and saw absolutely no benefit from doing that whatsoever.
There's no change.
How miserable was that for the rest of the staff that had to support that?
Right. Go back to our earlier conversation. Bad idea.
And that's a great point to wrap. We just dovetailed the whole damn thing. You know, I would love to hear from anybody on Discord if they're actually using V6 as a standard deployment. I would love to meet that one person on the entire planet. But I mean, I'm sure somebody is. I know enterprises are, because you kind of have to at some point.
And mobile phones.
But very rare, right? So, all right. So, Kyle, you joined last. I'll let you go first. Anything you want to tell the audience before we let everybody go?
You guys are awesome.
There you go. Right from the spoonful of advice. What about you, Matt?
I can't top that.
But it's in your name. You're the top guy.
True. I can top that.
Nice. I will say the same thing I say every time, which is, until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Actually, I should go over the upcoming events. I should probably do that before my staff yells at me. Did they load it? Fuck, they did. Okay, so we have upcoming events. We have we just did this, Bits and Books, last Friday, first episode ever, hosted by Marnie Stockman.
It's on go YouTube it. It's on the YouTubes. It's great. It's a fun episode.
Absolutely. We have MSP Community Live going on right now. We have Wins and Losses on Tuesday, 2 days from now. New time, 7:30 p.m. Ben Canning of Hack Your Health will be on as our special guest with Jason Slagle and myself. AI Roundup, your best 15 minutes of AI news every week. And then we have a partner first. Secure, Simplify, Succeed with Identity and Access Management. I don't want to guess at who that company is. 38 at 38 releasing on Friday with Joel Purcell of Bell Technologies and Mr. Aaron Bolton, the host. And then MSP Dispatch every Tuesday and Friday with yours truly and Tony Francisco. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you. I will see you in the communities. And until next time, I'll do it one more time. Take care of yourselves and each other.